Cenk Uygur went on Piers Morgan to destroy Zionist ghoul Jonathon Conricus. I've got my problems with Cenk, but on Palestine, I think he's really strong, really great. So let's get straight into the video.
All right, but Jonathan, let me jump in. The problem you have is that if this was all coming from the pro-Palestinian lobby, then okay, fine, you could respond the way you just have. But you don't just have one former Israeli prime minister saying all this. You have two. You've got Ehud Barak as well, who's come out very powerfully denouncing what this government is doing. They're not even the same politics, the two Ehuds. So you've got two recent former prime ministers of Israel who are condemning in the most strong language imaginable what your country's government is doing. That is the problem. It's not outside voices.
I agree
it's not me. It's not Palestinians. It's not Cenk, who I'm sure in a moment will respond in his normal, inimitable fashion. This is two former Israeli prime ministers.
Yes, these are two former Israeli prime ministers who have political vendettas against Netanyahu, which many Israelis share. I'll put myself out of the context of the political situation, but I will say this. These two people have also been campaigning against Netanyahu before the war and during the war. And I know from personal experience that nothing gets you a redder carpet in international media than an Israeli hoping and gladly bashing Israeli politics. I've seen it in...
So ridiculous. So ridiculous. Insane.
Experienced it myself, that the moment that I was willing to criticize the Israeli government or the IDF on TV, red carpets and open doors everywhere. The moment that I indicated that, in fact, I was not going to be bashing Israeli politics and I was not going...
It just doesn't happen in Western media. It really doesn't. People, the LBC presenter, I forgot her name off the top of my head, she was fired for criticizing Israel. You can lose your job over this. Students being harassed on university campuses for having Palestinian support. We saw it during the protests. There were people coming in and trying to attack and rile them up. The idea that somehow the red carpet is laid out for people supporting Israel is insane. It's insane. There's been massive manufactured consent, even by Piers Morgan on this. Piers Morgan, I should make my position clear, has no beliefs. Like, somehow now he's criticizing Israel. He doesn't care. He doesn't care at all. He's just, in his eyes, it's like, oh God, yeah, I kind of can't really defend this anymore, so I have to pretend to have an opinion on this. And he doesn't care. Obviously, he doesn't care. I shouldn't really have to say that, but I just want to make my position clear there.
Going to slander the IDF or the Israeli government, whether I agree in whole or I don't agree with the Israeli government, or whether I feel that they represent me or not, but I wasn't going to criticize it on TV, then doors started closing. And I think that what Ehud Olmert is enjoying is that very warm embrace of the so-called...
It's so funny, doors started. There's like 5 people. Zippy Halatovi, this guy, Benny Morris. There's a few people that just... And they're not rhetorically gifted. They have the same points. It's Hamas, like, don't be mean to us. We're justified in this. We're the victims. It's a defense. It's always the same kind of bingo card of just fascist talking points, frankly. Just never any agency for Israel's actions. It's always Hamas. Even though Israel is a settler colonial project, no, it's Hamas that are always to blame. It's never Israel. It's never the Israeli government.
International community, which is happy to have an Israeli of importance, critical of Israel, and to give him a point of view. And I think that is not entirely fair. And yes, there are points that Ehud Olmert and Barak are making that are valid. I, as an Israeli, have questions. And I am not happy with how long this war has been going on. I would have wanted for us to decide the war a long time ago, to have defeated Hamas a long time ago, to have started to distribute food and to do what we're doing now, to have done that half a year or a year ago.
But you're not going to defeat Hamas. it ain't happening. They're getting more people. You're just radicalizing. The more children you kill, and they've killed at least 20,000, if not way more children, the more radicalization. And you continue that cycle. And then you continue the radicalization in Israel, and you just, like, where does this end? It never ends well.
That would have hastened the demise of Hamas, that would have pulled the rug underneath the feet, and that would have alleviated civilian suffering in Gaza. And I think that is what we should have been doing. And my criticism to my government is, what took you so long? Why didn't we do this earlier? And why didn't you, Prime Minister, and the cabinet create the conditions, the international conditions necessary to do this earlier? Why have my fellow countrymen been in Hamas captivity for more than 600 days? And I think there's a lot of criticism in Israel towards the decisions by the Israeli government. But I think that Ehud Olmert and Ehud Barak are politically motivated, and they should be taken into the context of political rivals of Netanyahu.
Okay, Cenk Uygur, you've been waiting very patiently, albeit your facial expressions have revealed that you're not entirely agreeing with everything you've just heard. So over to you.
Yeah, of course, what he's saying is total nonsense. I mean, if I understood him correctly, he said that he would have started starving the Palestinians a year and a half ago. What a humanitarian. All right, I agree completely with Ehud Olmert. I saw him in Europe a couple of months ago. He's actually working on a peace plan that I think is very, very workable and doable. They could probably get it done immediately if they actually wanted peace. In fact, Olmert was also the only person who offered a real...
Yeah, Israel rejected a peace deal the other day. They don't want peace. They don't. This is what they've been dreaming of. A fascist, let's just say, Zionist settler colonial project that for decades has been working slowly on this process. Hamas did what they did, which is indefensible. It's a terrorist act. And now that's all the justification they need to amp it up and up the genocide. And they don't want a peace deal. They don't want peace. They want to continue this war. That's what a fascist state wants. You need that perpetual enemy, a defensive war. We're the victims. We can do no wrong. It's always the other. And this is what needs to be defeated. Because the international community has failed for too long. And it's really America and the UK. It is. It's really down to them, particularly America. And it's insane that Trump now has been the one to potentially maybe be the one that's kind of drawn a line in the sand, which says so much about Biden, Keir Starmer, previous prime ministers in the UK.
And decent peace plan back in 2008. So currently the real question here, and you touched on it a little bit in your interview, Piers, but we really don't talk about it nearly enough, is what is the goal of the Israeli government? So the goal, I don't think, is just genocide for genocide's sake. They're doing the genocide and the ethnic cleansing to steal Gaza. So you can call it a different word. You can say acquisition, conquest, as they have in their Knesset and in their cabinet meetings. They say, we're going to conquer Gaza. They have a map of greater Israel. And right now, by the way, they're in southern Lebanon and western Syria. So they keep attacking, conquering, killing, starving. And all the while, by the way, in the West, saying, we're the victims. I mean, look at all these Arab countries we invaded and took their land and subjugated their people for 58 straight years. But you see how we're the victims. And this brother over here is claiming that the red carpet rolls out for you if you criticize Israel. Well, brother, I got news for you. That's not what happens in America at all. You potentially get arrested, deported, canceled. Your job career prospects are nullified.
Yeah, losing the diploma from universities. Like, it's insane. Like, just think of all the, like, GB News is literally a news network dedicated to Islamophobia and racist smears against Muslims. That's fine. You can say anything about Islam on TV, but you criticize what Israel is doing in Gaza or the West Bank, and somehow it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. No, you've gone too far.
And people like Bill Ackman proudly say, I have a blacklist of anyone who dared to oppose Israel, and I will make sure they never get a job on Wall Street. It's disgusting. It's the exact opposite of what he claims. And of course, if you ever dare to support innocent Palestinians, you'll get smeared in 8 different ways. And so, look, are they going to conquer Gaza and take it for themselves? And this was never about self-defense. Or are they, so worried about terrorism and they can't wait to get out and get to peace? No, get real. The Israeli government has no interest in peace. They have blocked every single ceasefire deal on the premise that, no, we will continue the war after the ceasefire. So, well, that makes no sense. Why would the other side, I want them to release the hostages. I think it's terrible what Hamas did on October 7th and terrible that they took hostages. But if you're being realistic, why would the other side say, yes, I'll give you the hostages back so that you could go back to murdering and slaughtering and conquering Gaza 60 days later? That makes no sense at all. So we have to resolve, and the Israeli government must be asked over and over again, because...
Why is he putting his hand up? Let him finish. That's the thing. Oh, you'll see.
They've already declared it publicly. So there's actually no question about it whatsoever. This is not a war of defense. This is a war of conquest. I didn't say that. The Israeli government said that.
Okay.
So let's call them out for who they are. They're an imperial empire who has done terrorism to seize land, and they've starved people to death. It's like the Germans going into the Sudetenland. Let's be honest about it for once in our lives.
Of course it is. Of course it is. And we need to be calling Israel what it is, a terrorist state. In the same way we do Hamas, we need to call Israel. And Cenk does a great job of that. It is terror to target civilians, which Israel has, journalists, aid workers. This is terrorism. War crimes. Netanyahu should be in The Hague. And the fact he isn't already, I think, just says so much about the West and how it's complicit in a genocide.
Up to 30%.
Gaza.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan, I'll get you to respond, but, when you look at what Smodrich said last week, that was on camera, the intent is crystal clear as far as he's concerned. And when I put to the Israeli ambassador to the UK in a very heated interview that we did last week, that he was effectively articulating a form of genocide, indisputably, because he wanted to clear out every Palestinian from Gaza and take it for Israel. She emphatically denied what we'd all heard with our own ears. She then emphatically denied that Israel had killed any children.
Which again is a fascist thing to do, just like, because you've got a few options really in this situation when you're committing genocide. You can go, okay, we're doing this, admit to it, and then you are culpable, and you go, okay, we killed 20,000 children at least. I think it's way more. Like 70% of Gaza has been destroyed. Yes, they've been displaced 2 million people. We don't know. That's the thing. The fact that we don't know, and we will not know, maybe ever or for a long time, if Israel ever lets the UN to investigate. We'll see. But the idea that somehow, like, let's hear his response.
He then told me exactly how many Hamas terrorists the IDF had killed, 30,000, but she couldn't.
Oh, yeah. You've got two options. Kind of admit what you've done, or you have to deny reality. You have to completely disavow objective, physical reality. And that's what fascists do. It is based on a lie. They are anti-empiricist. They are anti-reality. They are pure victims. And this is it. Like, you hear the same. It's just so, people don't talk in this way. Like, when you hear Israel trying to defend their actions on TV, your average person, they don't talk like that. They will try and bend into pretzels just to try and justify the murder of children. It's insane. It's truly insane. We are witnessing a historical moment on TV right now, and it's... Will they be held accountable? I don't think they will. I just don't think they will.
Tell me even a ballpark figure of how many children had been killed in the process, which I found quite extraordinary.
Why is he smiling? And again, some weird smile there. And it is extraordinary. Like, I covered that interview the other day. She says 30,000 Hamas. And then how many children? She says it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. We're talking about children here. It's like, we know 30, like, based on, of course, she's just plucking those numbers out of her arsehole. But children, they're irrelevant. It's irrelevant. We can kill as many, which basically means I don't care, / we can kill as many children as we want, which is genocidal. It's not even ambiguous. It's like, it's insane.
Response where she knew one figure very precisely, almost like the IDF only count the Hamas terrorists they kill. They don't count any of the civilians they kill.
Well, yeah, which says so much. That's so obvious what they do. That is clear where their intentions lie.
Which I just do not believe. And if it is true, that seems despicable to me. But she was...
I believe it.
A complete denial. And, you know, my original question for you before you responded to what the former Prime Minister said was, when you see a policy of a blockade which can only be construed for what it is, which is a policy of starving the people of Gaza, and we're now seeing these terrible scenes where food arrives and thousands of Palestinians race and fight each other to try and get it. And I don't know who killed them and wounded them the other day. I know it was reported by Reuters and others that it was IDF. The IDF emphatically denied it.
Should we trust the IDF?
They said it must have been Hamas and so on. We don't know, but the main reason...
Really? It was the IDF. Let's just be honest here.
The reason we don't know, Jonathan, which is another of my massive bugbears about this, is that the IDF still refuses to let international journalists go and do their job and verify this stuff for themselves, unlike in every other war zone there's ever been. So for a number of reasons, this Israel government's policy right now has completely lost people like me that were very prepared, as you know, and as Cenk knows, for a long time to defend Israel's right to defend itself. This has gone way past defending the people of Israel. This has moved now.
So Piers...
Okay, so listen to his answer now, because Piers is, you know, he's, as far as I'm concerned, as bad as this guy. He doesn't care. But he's raising real points that, you know, are good points. Listen to this guy's response. Will he answer this question directly?
Has moved now to taking control of Gaza, kicking all the Palestinians out, starving civilians if necessary for the last 3 months. And when it comes to the killing of children, there have been an estimated, I don't know the exact number, but an estimated 20,000 or more children have been killed in this war so far. For Israel to deny that is to deny the obvious, isn't it?
Okay, so a lot to unpack. I would like to respond to what Cenk said before, but I think you touched upon an issue which I think is key, and that is the whole the issue of intention, one issue, and the second one being the humanitarian one. Now, I'll remind you and Cenk, and I'll remind everybody watching, that Israel was not occupying 5 points in southern Lebanon, was not deploying troops in southwestern Syria along the Israeli border, and definitely did not have any troops inside Gaza on October.
He just can't answer the question directly. Like, obviously he can't, because again, he has to lie. You can't, this is what fascists do. Again, do you look at reality and go, yeah, this is what we've done, and then you have to be held responsible? Or your only other option is to lie about it and go, well, let's just not answer the question.
October 6th. We were attacked from all those fronts by various terrorist organizations that very clearly sought to conduct genocide of Israelis in their homes. And I think this is
I totally agree.
And I think that
I completely agree.
Yeah, I think we should recognize this.
Of course.
Yeah, and I think we should.
So by your logic, what Israel is doing to families, children, men, women across Gaza is also the same. But he wouldn't agree with that logic because he's, let's just say, dishonest, to say the least.
We should recognize it because that is how we started. Second thing, with comments that Minister Bezalel Smotrich did or didn't make, I've heard many of his comments, and I'll tell you that personally, I do not agree with many of them. And I would say that while he, as a minister and as member of a cabinet, certainly has influence, based on the actions on the ground by the IDF in almost a year and a half of fighting, I wouldn't say that that is the real policy enacted on the ground. I will not deny that there are parts of Israeli society, democratically elected, that...
He just slips that in there. They always, like, does that justify it? Is that like a thing democracies can get away with? So America and UK historically have got away with some of the worst crimes on the planet. Let's be honest here. So it's okay if you're democratically elected. Okay, so Hamas elected in 2005, so is it okay for them? Like, they just slip these things. And also, as well, like, he can't answer the question. Just answer the question. Also, as well, like, he's saying that, oh, the policy on the ground does not... Yes, it does. The rhetoric of Smotrich, of Netanyahu, of so many people in the Israeli government is so indicative of the actions. It's not even like ambiguous. It's just so the intention is very clear.
Espouse certain types and have certain feelings towards Palestinians. I do not think that that is what the IDF is executing on the ground, because had that been the case...
What? Just again, you have to deny reality as a fascist. That's it. You can't engage with empiricism. You just can't engage with, like, matter and this, like, physical reality.
Jonathan, hang on. Jonathan, hang on.
Really,
just
really,
on that
Piers,
point.
really.
On that one point.
But I want to touch on humanitarian
I
before
will,
we go
but let's come to that. Let me just jump in. I need to challenge you when you say something that gets my hackles up. The idea the IDF is not pursuing this policy, when the IDF is systematically destroying Gaza. 70% of Gaza reportedly has been destroyed. Again, this cannot be completely...
Well, there's good reason for it, Piers.
Well, hang on.
Piers,
I'm going to come to...
good reason.
Is there?
Yeah, but when you destroy... hang on,
destroyed.
Jonathan, let me finish. When you destroy 70% of a place like Gaza and you reduce the population to a shuffling herd of people moved from pillar to post with no home, who are being bombarded on a nightly basis by the IDF from the air, who are, as we saw last week, just a family of 9 children out of 10 are killed in one of these airstrikes. And you're starving them with a 3-month blockade, right? You put it all together.
No, we're not starving them. Hang on. Everything you said...
But yes, you are. You literally control what goes into Gaza, and you are stopping food going into Gaza. You are literally, by definition, starving the Gazan people, which is a war crime, as far as I'm concerned, an act of genocide, and Israel needs to be held accountable. Like, if any other country, we wouldn't even have this discussion.
I agree, but we're not starving.
Okay, we'll come to that.
And I want to speak about the humanitarian as well.
Okay,
yes,
and you can when I just finish the point. You say, Smotrich may or may not have said this. He indisputably said what we heard him say, and he's not just any old minister. He's the finance minister for the Israeli government. He's one of the most powerful people in the country, and he's been one of the most vocal people in that government from the start of this war. So the idea he's not a driving influence for this government is for the birds.
No, I don't think so. And I think that, yes, as I said and acknowledge, he definitely has influence, and I will agree with you. I'll correct myself. He has significant influence over Israeli politics and over the stability of the Israeli coalition. Having said that, when I judge and when I analyze what the IDF has been doing on the ground, I can explain and justify very easily why so many structures in Gaza have been destroyed. and it is directly linked to military necessity. Each and every house that...
There's no necessity of killing children. Even as they say, they keep saying human shields. I'm sorry, you just don't get to kill children. That's not how it works. You don't just that's not how it works.
the Israeli troops have encountered has had military infrastructure in it. Each and every mosque, each and every hospital.
Really? Everything. Like Hamas are in kids' bedrooms, hiding behind children. It's so comedically silly that it's like, who actually believes this? So Hamas in every room. Like, that's what he's saying. Every hospital, every mosque, they're just like there. This kind of, I mean, do we even know the official numbers of Hamas, like the militia? It's a tiny militia that aren't that well funded. Like, we're not talking about IDF levels of infrastructure here. Some of the most sophisticated military equipment on the planet. Why is Israel failing?
Some, not all, but many UN facilities have
Jonathan,
had
that cannot be true. It cannot be true that every single...
It is, Piers.
You're saying
it
that...
is.
Hang on, just to be clear.
No, not every single.
You said every house they have encountered in Gaza has contained military infrastructure. That is obviously not true.
Obviously, you know based on what, Piers?
What do you know based on? Where's your evidence for this? Can we have evidence? Can we have an investigation? Oh no, Israel won't let journalists and the UN to investigate. So what is your evidence based on this?
I can tell you that
based on the fact that there have been thousands of civilians killed in homes with...
Okay, that's his evidence. Soldiers and friends. IDF soldiers, the most disciplined military on the planet. If you believe that, I've got a bridge to sell you.
With no military infrastructure.
I would disagree with you, and I would say this. The percentage of so-called civilian houses in Gaza that Hamas has used...
So-called civilian. See, this is the dehumanizing language and the, again, fascist language. Like, all of them, in his eyes, are terrorists. All of them deserve it. That's it. It's a very subtle sleight of hand, what he's doing here. But that is exactly what he's doing. Like, so-called civilians. A child who was born in Palestine, didn't make that choice, is somehow a so-called civilian. Insane.
Either for the placement of weapons, or for the location of fighters, otherwise known as terrorists, or for infrastructure, or for collecting intelligence is tremendous. You wouldn't... I understand that you refuse to believe it because the numbers are
How can we believe it when you won't let... when the IDF won't let...
Why should we believe anything the IDF said? They've been proven to lie. They celebrate the deaths of children. There's TikToks, videos. I mean, there's no reason to believe what the IDF says. There's no real reason to believe anything this guy says. That's why I'm not really taking anything he's saying seriously, because he lies.
Let journalists, or the government won't let journalists from outside of Gaza go in to examine this stuff. Cenk, your response...
Why is he smiling though? Like, because if my government was committing genocide in an occupied territory and I was supportive of that, and then I'm asked, like, should journalists, the appropriate people who can go into Gaza, I don't think journalists should be going in per se, because Israel will kill them. Will they kill UN? Yes, they will. They will kill anybody they like and seemingly get away with it. But why would you smile? Like, why is he smiling?
Response to this,
Piers, here you and I are in agreement.
Well, yeah, but it remains a scandal that international journalists are prohibited from going in. It is a scandal, and it makes it very hard to believe, frankly, anything.
Yeah, but they would never... Again, they don't, because then you would find out the truth. I mean, most people get on. Like they've seen the footage. You see the clips on TikTok and Twitter, X, of some of the worst things you can imagine happening in Gaza. There's a reason why they won't let them in, because then we have the evidence. And then if Western civilization is going to continue, if democracy, if capitalism, if human rights and international law then are going to have any meaning at all, in any meaningful way, we need to put Netanyahu and his cronies in prison for a long time. But that's not going to happen, is it? We know that's not going to happen. So they keep the journalists out. It's that simple.
That the IDF now say, because how can we verify it?
Well,
they launched their own inquiries.
You know what I think is a scandal, Piers?
What? Go on.
I think
he's going to say Israel killing babies. He's going to say that's what he's going to say. That's definitely what he's going to say. He's changed his mind. He's gone, wait a minute, killing babies? That's wrong morally. That's what he's going to say now.
What is a scandal is how international media, including in the last 36 hours, have been taking and regurgitating Hamas propaganda and talking points and report.
Really? Hamas have got massive multi-million-dollar PR campaign now. They've got the best of the best. Piers Morgan has gone to Gaza. He's been there. He's like Douglas Murray. He's been there. He knows. He's friends now. Like, what is he talking about? It's just so incoherent.
Well, I have truth.
And in your introduction,
introduction. Okay, but I didn't. In your
introduction, Piers, you made a very correct. I think you made a very correct connection between events in Israel and events in the US and in Western Europe, where we see anti-Israeli propaganda and hatred spewed in international media.
Come on, give it a rest.
And we see the results in real world. Yes. Yeah, and by the way, I haven't heard you, Mr. Champion and progressive leader, condemn any of the terrorist attacks against Israelis.
Oh, well, let me ask Cenk that very question.
Okay,
Look, Jonathan, I gave you a long chance to respond.
All right.
Cenk, would you like, first of all, to address that point?
By the way, do I get a half an hour to respond to all of his nonsense? But go ahead.
Well, first of all, your response to the attacks that have been happening on Jewish people in America.
Yeah, it's disgusting. It's immoral. It's stupid. It's counterproductive. I loathe it. So I'm for peace. I'm against violence.
You didn't waste 5 minutes to write about it on Twitter or to speak about it. You didn't waste a minute to speak about it out of your own.
Again, this guy's lying. He did. I mean, Cenk tweets constantly. He's on this. Like, this guy has nothing. He literally has nothing. So it's kind of like, oh, well, you didn't condemn that. Everybody condemns that, unless you're an anti-Semite and you hate Jewish people. Which, there are people out there on the left and on the right, mostly on the right.
Volition. No, you didn't. You haven't. I've checked before coming
This
online.
genocidal freak has talked for half an hour straight. And Piers, do you see how every time I go to talk, the Israeli propagandists talk over me on your
Jonathan,
show?
you must let him respond now.
Yeah, they do it all the time because Cenk's been pretty respectful. He's not interrupted once, which I would have done constantly. I would have been like, wait a minute, no, that's a lie. That's a lie. Fabrication. Like, but this guy now, he needs to talk because he can't handle the truth, as they say.
I speak for 30 minutes,
I gave you a long
and then when I go to
speak,
speak, they talk over me.
Let Cenk speak, because I gave Jonathan...
just think you're being dishonest.
Jonathan, I gave you a long chance to say your piece.
Shut up, John. Jesus Christ,
let Cenk respond, please. Cenk.
No, I'm not going to take shut up from you. I think you're being dishonest, ironic. And you sit on high horses and lecture others.
Here we go. Do you see?
Yeah, he sits on a high horse and lectures on genocide.
You see this, Piers? This is Israeli propaganda. I'll remain calm, but understand that every time I go to talk, Israeli propagandists that you bring on continue to talk over me.
Jonathan, let him speak.
They've now done it every single time.
Jonathan,
unless you get this Israeli propagandist to stop talking,
let Cenk speak, because he let you speak, Jonathan. Cenk.
Okay. We'll finish on Cenk's response because I just can't deal with this guy. He's disgusting, frankly.
Okay, so he's obviously trying to defend the terrorism of Israel. they have killed over 20,000 children. So are they the most incompetent military in the world? Oh, golly gee, we missed 20,000 times. Or are they doing it on purpose?
Or is Hamas hiding behind
You remember
civilians?
in the beginning of the conflict? So here...
See, he knows he's lying, so he can't just let him finish. He knows what Israel are doing, and he has that on his conscience.
Here we go. Here we go. Okay, so do you remember in the beginning of the conflict when they pretended to be outraged that there was an accusation that Israel had hit a hospital? And they're like, how could you say this? Israel would never do such a thing. They have now destroyed 20 out of the 22 hospitals in Gaza, totally leveled them.
You remember
Why?
the incident?
Because they want to make life unlivable in Gaza, because they are terrorists. That is part of the reason why that I abhor violence. I hated what happened on October 7th. He makes it sound like October 6th was perfectly lovely. No, October 6th is when Israel continued to have a 57-year brutal occupation of the Palestinians, demeaning and basically enslaving the Palestinians for 58 years now. When are you going to let them go? You have 5.5 million hostages, those Palestinians under the thumb of despotic Israeli rule. So now Smotrich says, look, we were happy starving them to death, and that's what I would like to have done, but it's bad optics for us. So we have to bring them to the brink of starvation so that the West will continue to let us do what we're doing, which is the genocide and ethnic cleansing of Gaza. These are indisputable facts. Now, when you include women,
no, they've
not. Killed over 30,000 innocent women and children. A stadium full of dead bodies brought to you by the IDF. The IDF is murdering those people every day. By the way, they've killed 12 Americans. And both the Biden administration and the Trump administration goes, Americans. A 14-year-old boy who grew up in New Jersey was just murdered by the IDF in the West Bank. And both Trump and Biden go, as long as the money's coming in from AIPAC, I'll let you murder any American you like. I'll let you murder any Palestinian you like. And let's be honest. Hey, brother, Jonathan, why don't you tell me? Here, I'll let you talk.
See, his face says it all. He has nothing. This isn't a man that has any integrity or values. He's just like he's in denial about what his government represents. The Zionist project, a settler colonial project. That needs to end. It should have ended decades ago.
Now and give your BS Israeli propaganda as you claim that the worldwide media and the U.S. media are too harsh on Israel. They've given Israel a pass on everything. If they held Israel to the same standard as Hamas, right now the whole world and the whole media would do nothing but condemn Israel.
Yep,
they have killed over 400 times the number of children that Hamas has killed. The IDF is the...
See that. Like, objective reality, they would. Like, it's unequivocal the imbalance here of death from Israel to Hamas. Like,
biggest terrorists in the world right now. So tell me, are you going to take Gaza and prove...
Objectively, they are.
Me right that this was always a genocidal attack on Palestinians to steal their land, or are you going to withdraw from Gaza and go to a two-state solution? I want a safe and peaceful Israel. I want a safe and peaceful and independent Palestine.
Somehow I doubt that. Somehow I doubt that you want to see...
Again, projection, just projection. He doesn't either. He's just projection.
Do you plan to steal Gaza? Answer the question. Do you want to steal Gaza, or are you going to give Gaza back to the Palestinians?
Somehow I doubt that you want to see a peaceful and safe Israel.
Yes. Cenk does. He wants you to stop slaughtering babies and children.
Jews living in their ancestral homeland where they have...
Okay, I've had enough of that guy. There we are. Piers Morgan, again, kind of meaningless at this point in a way, but maybe there is going to be real pressure put on Netanyahu. Maybe Trump can pull off something, maybe a miracle. I don't know. Maybe he can do something good by accident. Like Jeffrey Epstein famously said about Donald Trump, Trump would never do anything good by accident. But by accident. Maybe it's his time to shine. Maybe not. I don't know. Either way, hit the like button, and I'll see you next time.